हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम बैक टू कॉग्निट सॉल्वर। सो अपने लास्ट वीडियो में हमने देखा था कि किस तरीके से एक्सेप्शन हैंडलिंग करते हैं और कस्टम एक्सेप्शंस कैसे थ्रो करते हैं अपने जावा स्प्रिंग बूट एप्लीकेशन में। ओके, सो इस वीडियो में हम लोग एक बहुत ही अच्छा सा टॉपिक एक्सप्लोर करने वाले हैं और ऑब्वियसली इक्वली इम्पॉर्टेंट टॉपिक भी है वो। It's about the documentation of your API. So yeah, we are dealing with REST APIs, right? हम लोग अपना API क्रिएट कर रहे हैं एप्लीकेशन में। So आप अपना API को डॉक्यूमेंट भी करना चाहोगे, राइट? कि जैसे आपका प्रोजेक्ट आप बना रहे हो, अगर मैं इंडस्ट्री की बात करूँ तो राइट, तो पहले APIs बनाने से पहले उनको डॉक्यूमेंट करना पड़ता है, या फिर आप API बना के उसके बाद डॉक्यूमेंट कर सकते हो। आप बहुत सारी वेबसाइट पर अगर जाओगे, सपोज कर लो अगर आप चैट जीपीटी का एग्जाम्पल या फिर क्लाउड का एग्जाम्पल है, जैसे कि जो AI टूल्स है या फिर गूगल के APIs हैं, बहुत सारी कंपनीज आपको अपनी APIs प्रोवाइड करते हैं, राइट? आप उनके APIs को लो और अपने एप्लीकेशन में इंटीग्रेट करो। अगर APIs फ्री है तो फ्री है, अगर फ्री नहीं है तो आपको उसके लिए चार्ज देना पड़ेगा, एंड ब्ला ब्ला ब्ला, राइट? सो द पॉइंट इज कि आप कैसे इंटीग्रेट करोगे उन APIs को, आप कैसे समझोगे कि वो API का पेलोड क्या होगा, सिग्नेचर क्या है API का, वो API का रिस्पॉन्स कैसा आएगा, करेक्ट? सो वो सब समझने के लिए आपको एक डॉक्यूमेंटेशन तो प्रोवाइड करेगी कंपनी ना। जिस कंपनी का वो API रहेगा, जिस भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का वो API रहेगा, वो एक डॉक्यूमेंटेशन प्रोवाइड करेगी। हाँ, हमारे API का एंड पॉइंट ये है, सर्वर ये है, राइट? एंड दीज आर द इनपुट पैराम्स और रिक्वेस्ट बॉडी। अगर मैं आपको दिखाऊं फॉर एन एग्जांपल, ओके, सो ये जो वेबसाइट है, राइट, data.gov.in, तो आपको बहुत सारे APIs प्रोवाइड करता है। अगर आप APIs वाले सेक्शन पे क्लिक करो, सो देखिए टोटल 2,54,042 APIs गवर्नमेंट आपको प्रोवाइड करती है आपके यूज़ केस के लिए। समझ कुछ APIs फ्री हैं, कुछ APIs आपको उसके लिए चार्ज लग सकता है, करेक्ट? सो फॉर एन एग्जांपल, जैसे कि हमने एक सिंपल सा API का एग्जांपल लेते हैं, गेट डेटा ऑफ ऑल इंडिया पिन कोड डायरेक्टरी विथ कॉन्टैक्ट डिटेल्स अलॉन्ग विथ लैटिट्यूड एंड लॉन्गिट्यूड। सो ये API क्या करता है बेसिकली, by passing in the appropriate options you can get resource level data. So आप अगर किसी पर्टिकुलर एरिया का इन्फॉर्मेशन चाहते हो by providing the post code only, तो आप इस API का यूज़ कर सकते हो, करेक्ट? तो आप कैसे यूज़ करोगे इस API को अपने एप्लीकेशन के अंदर, तो उसके लिए हमें बताया हुआ है कि क्या क्या पैरामीटर्स होंगे। तो ये है API की, ये API की क्या करता है, इसका वैल्यू क्या रहेगा, फॉर्मेट क्या होगा, ऑफसेट, इन लिमिट, और किस तरह का रिस्पॉन्स आएगा। दिस इज व्हाट कॉल्ड API डॉक्यूमेंटेशन, जिससे कि दूसरे इंसान को पता लग पाए कि आपका API कैसे यूज़ करना है, करेक्ट? सो हम लोग भी ऐसा कुछ करेंगे। हमने जो भी अपना बनाया था ये ट्यूटोरियल सर्विस, इसमें हमने एक API बनाई थी एक्सेप्शन के लिए, जस्ट फॉर द सेक ऑफ द एग्जाम्पल। तो हम लोग इस API का डॉक्यूमेंटेशन करेंगे और एक ऐसा UI, जैसे आपको दिख रहा है ना, ये यहाँ पे मेथड का नाम लिखा हुआ है, एंड पॉइंट है, डिस्क्रिप्शन है, फिर सारे जो भी पैरामीटर्स आप अंदर भेज रहे हो उसका उनका डिस्क्रिप्शन है, राइट? सो ये हम लोग ही बनाएंगे अपना API के लिए। सो API डॉक्यूमेंटेशन के लिए बहुत सारे टूल्स आते हैं, बट सबसे बेस्ट जो है मेरे को लगता है, और जो कि इंडस्ट्री में ज़्यादातर फॉलो भी होता है, दैट इज स्वैगर। स्वैगर का अगर आप नहीं जानते हो, आई जस्ट शो यू swagger.io, आई थिंक दैट इज द वेबसाइट। सो दिस इज स्वैगर। अब देखो सारे बड़े बड़े इंडस्ट्रीज इसको यूज़ करते हैं और काफ़ी अच्छा सा UI प्रोवाइड करता है स्वैगर आपके API के डॉक्यूमेंटेशंस के लिए, करेक्ट? सो आप यहाँ पे जाके सारा कुछ पढ़ सकते हो, सारी इन्फॉर्मेशन ले सकते हो कैसे ये काम करता है, नहीं करता है। बट या you don't have to do that. If you want to, you can go and read all the documentation provided by Swagger. And yeah, for you I'll just sum up in this particular video that how to use it and what are the necessary things. बाकी कस्टमाइजेशन तो आपके हाथ में है ही, मैं तो हमेशा हर वीडियो में यही बात करता हूँ, करेक्ट? ओके, सो इस स्वैगर डॉक्यूमेंटेशन या फिर स्वैगर को UI को इंटीग्रेट करने के लिए आपको एक डिपेंडेंसी चाहिए होगी, दैट इज कॉल्ड ओपन API डिपेंडेंसी। तो हम लोग जाएंगे अपने pom.xml में और वो डिपेंडेंसी यहाँ पे हम लोग पेस्ट कर देंगे। ओके, मैं इसको थोड़ा सा बड़ा करता हूँ। सो आप कहीं भी पेस्ट कर सकते हो, ऊपर नीचे। ओके, सो मैं यहीं नीचे पेस्ट कर देता हूँ टेस्ट स्टार्टर टेस्ट के बाद, ठीक है? तो ये डिपेंडेंसी है org.spring doc ओपन API स्टार्टर वेब MVC UI, वर्जन में 2.1.0 कर रहा हूँ। आप चाहो तो लेटेस्ट वर्जन या फिर जो भी वर्जन कंपैटिबल हो आपके एप्लीकेशन के साथ आप उसको यूज़ कर सकते हो। तो हमने अपना ये डिपेंडेंसी ऐड कर लिया है। विल सेव आवर pom.xml एंड बाय दिस टाइम अगर आप रन करते हो एप्लीकेशन को तो आपको आपका डॉक्यूमेंटेशन दिखना चाहिए। बेसिकली आपको कुछ नहीं करना, आपको सिर्फ डिपेंडेंसी ऐड करनी है, उसके बाद आपको अपना डिफ़ॉल्ट डॉक्यूमेंटेशन दिखेगा। अगर आपको उस डॉक्यूमेंटेशन को कस्टमाइज़ करना है तो फिर हम लोग एक कन्फिग फाइल डिफाइन करनी पड़ेगी फॉर स्वैगर, एंड वो उसको कन्फिगर कर देगा अपने आप से, अपने हिसाब से उसको कस्टमाइज कर सकते हो। या सो लेट्स रन द एप्लीकेशन एंड लेट्स सी if our documentation works, right? या एक और बात है कि आप अपना डॉक्यूमेंटेशन देखोगे कहाँ पे, क्योंकि आपने तो कोई यूआई बनाया नहीं है इसके लिए, करेक्ट? तो वो कहाँ देखोगे? तो बेसिकली आपका अपने जो डिपेंडेंसी अभी ऐड की है तो आपके लिए वो यूआई अपने आप बना देता है। सो आपको क्या करना है, आपको अपने सर्वर के पोर्ट 8080 पे जाना है। बेसिकली आपको लोकल होस्ट 8080 पे जाना है। ओके, लोकल होस्ट कोलन 8080, देन आपको देना है स्लैश, देन swagger -ui, then slash, then index.html। सो ये पर्टिकुलर एंड पॉइंट है, राइट, जो कि आपके लोकल होस्ट 8080 पे चल रहा है, बिकॉज आपका एप्लीकेशन 8080 पर रन कर रहा है। आपको बस इसको हिट करना है और आपको आपका डॉक्यूमेंटेशन दिखने लगेगा। सी हम लोग को भी एरर आ रहा है, बोल रहा है रिस्पॉन्स स्टेटस इज 500 v3 API docs। ओके, सो कुछ तो इशू हो गया है, उसको v3 API docs नहीं मिल रहा है। Okay, so I think I know what happening here. As I already told you guys that versioning is something which can give us issues. So we are using latest stable version of Spring Boot at 3.4.0, but this Spring Doc Open API Starter Web MVC UI, this depend basically Spring Doc dependency. It is older version, that is 2.1.0. That is why it's not able to fetch this particular endpoint, which is which has been added in the newer versions. So this is not, basically the bottom line, it is not compatible. So we have two options: either we can downgrade our Spring Boot or we can upgrade our Spring Doc dependency. Now downgrading our Spring Boot is not a good idea, because maybe not only for this project, maybe you are working on some very critical project and a very big project where the other APIs or other functionality of the project is dependent on the Spring Boot version, and if you downgrade it, maybe some functionality may broke, right? And just for the documentation purpose, we are not gonna do all the rework on those functionalities to make it up again. So it's better to upgrade the Spring Doc dependency version rather to downgrade your Spring Boot version. Fine. So we'll upgrade it. So for upgrading, we need to know what is the latest one. So we'll just copy this artifact ID. We'll go to Google. We'll search for Maven repository. This mbnrepository.com. That is our website for all the Maven repositories. Paste the artifact ID here. Search for it. The first one you see, right? This is the one we need. So here, see, the latest one is 2.7.0. we were using 2.1.0, I guess, right? Yeah, so we were using 2.1.0. after that it is 2.7.0 is the latest one, but you see 2.6.0 is something which has more user base, but yeah, we'll anyway use the latest one, 2.7.0. so yeah, we'll just copy this one and come here, paste it. You can simply change the version also, there is no issue. The rest of the codes are same. If you see, only the version is now changed to 2.7.0 from 2.1.0, and we will save it. Let the DevTools reload our application. Fine, our application is up. We'll go to our localhost swagger UI index.html. we'll reload the page. Okay, it's not working now. Sometime it may happen because we updated our dependency version, so we need to stop our server. Okay, we need to stop our server. We just right click on our project. Maybe we can do a refresh, and after refresh we can just hover over this Maven and we can do update project, right? and just click this force update of snapshot releases, so that it will forcefully update the existing dependencies. So the dependencies which are currently in our system, those were from 2.1.0, but we changed the dependency version, so they are supposed to be updated to 2.7.0. so sometimes it does automatically if it just to by saving the pom.xml. Sometimes it's not, so better to update the project after you change anything in the pom.xml. Correct? Okay, so it's now updated. Now we'll again run our application. This time it should work. Okay, let's see that. Okay, our application is up. I'll go and then refresh the page. Fine, voila, we have our documentation. So as you can see in our REST controller, we have only one controller method, right? We have only one control class and one controller method. That is why only one method is there, right? And you see the servers, it says generated server URL, because we haven't defined any URL for what will be the URL for our servers or APIs. So whatever the generated URL is there, it takes by default. And this title, this version, this link, everything is by default. You see the tutorial controller, it is by default, because our class controller is tutorial controller, so it will take the value from here and just replace the camel casing and by underscore or a hyphen, and convert all the things into a small case, right? So we can change everything. We can change everything in this page. Everything we're looking, you can add your name, your email, your own website, your own server endpoints. This name also we can change. So you see the endpoint is tutorial/exception, right? And it takes only one parameter, which is a required parameter of type string, and it goes into query param, and the name of the param is param1, right? And in response it returns a string value. Correct? So yeah, we can modify these things. Okay, so this all is default one. Let's modify it. So for modification, we'll come here and we'll create a package called config, right? We have to create a package config. It's better to have separate packages. Sorry, yeah, in our tutorial, right, our base package. So it's better to create packages to sort your code basically. Okay, config package will define a class called swagger config. Now you can name it anything. Okay, I'm naming it swagger config. Yeah, and for the time being I'll just stop this server. We have to annotate this class with API definition, something like that. Let's see if it's there. Open API definition. It comes from Swagger. Okay, so as soon as we added this annotation here, so Spring Boot will understand that okay, this particular class is used to define the configuration for Swagger. So whatever you do here, it will reflect in Swagger. Okay, so you see this particular top column here. This is the information of the of this documentation page, right? So we can define info here. I'll say info. Okay, sorry guys. So basically this open API definition, it takes multiple parameters, right? So we can have a parenthesis here. If you say it takes info, right? So in info we have another annotation with I caps, obviously info, which again can take parameters, so to say. And if we see here, it takes contact. So here in contact is also a annotation class, basically contact. And here if we see, it takes three values: email, extension name, and URL. Okay, let's first define the name. So you can type your own name here. I'm typing Cogni Solver, right? And then for email, you can define your email. I'm writing mine, cognisolver@gmail.com. Correct? and URL. You can, if you have your URL, your company URL maybe, so you can define it there. So maybe some URL.com, right? Fine. So we have our contact information ready. Now next thing, in info we have our contact, right? And we can have more. So this is the contact information, or maybe the contact information is not by default coming, so it will come here. And now we can change the description and the title of this page, right? So for that we have a annotation called, parameter called description. Okay, so here you can write a description for this page. So this is a simple this is a Swagger, not a simple one. This is a Swagger documentation, Swagger API documentation page for YouTube, or maybe for YouTube tutorial. You can write anything, no issues. YouTube tutorial, right? Fine. So yeah, that's okay. And this is the description. You can give obviously title. If you just do control space, you can see that it can take title, right? So title, you can say YouTube tutorial, any meaningful thing which is fitting your requirements, right? YouTube tutorial. And obviously you can define version of this documentation. So you say if it takes version as a parameter, so I'm defining at 1.0.0, right? Okay, so we have defined version. So if you see, our information thing is over now. We have defined contact and then description, title and version. So these all items will come at the top. And next we can modify the servers. So you can see there is only one server, that is a generated server URL. You can define our own servers here. Fine. So after info, it takes a parameter called server. Okay, we have to give a comma here. Servers, right? Here you can define multiple servers, right? So for prod there will be another server, test another server, or maybe dev another server. So you can define multiple servers according to your need. So it will take parameters. In the parameters, it will take server as annotation. So server, right? Okay, in server you can have two things, right? The description of the server, like you have to say, right, what this server signifies. I mean, like if it's a test server, you have to tell the user that this server is from test server, right? Description, say I'm saying it is a local test server, right? Local test server. And you can define the URL obviously for the server, right? That's a very important part. Remember, whichever server you will choose from the list, this is a drop down list, right? Whatever servers you choose from the list, when you hit the API from here, that particular server is been taken as the server, and whatever the endpoints is here will be taken by that, right? The request URL, I'll show you in a moment. So let's define the URL for it. So I'll take the local server URL is this one, right? Just paste this. Okay, so http localhost 8080 will be our default one for our so not default one, for our local. And yeah, let's make one or two more. So maybe dev server, right? You can say my dev URL, right? And then similarly we can say prod server. You got the idea, right? What I'm trying to do here. My prod URL, Now we are getting error. Why we are getting error? Okay, we are getting error because we have done something wrong. Of course, this won't be a parenthesis. This would be a curly brace because it takes an object. Okay, so we are done, I guess, right? So we have defined our info and our servers. Now if you have your security scheme already defined, so you can define a security scheme, but for now our controller doesn't have any security scheme. It's open for all, there is no security, so we are not defining that. I'll come to that when I'll show you guys how to define security in your APIs, how to secure your APIs. There are multiple ways you can secure your APIs, so only the authorized users can access your APIs, right? Okay, so for that will come later. For now I'll save this Swagger config and I'll just try to rerun my application. If it doesn't work, then we have to refresh and do it again. Let's see if it works. I'll just simply refresh the page. Perfect, right? You see now this YouTube tutorial and the version is 1.0.0, and yeah, this is a Swagger API documentation page for YouTube tutorial. You can see your name and your website, and then you send email to Cognisolver. That is what is the name you have provided here. If you just click on this, you can see at the bottom it is showing that mail to cognisolver@gmail.com. correct? Okay, fine. And you can see the server list. If you just click it here, so this drop down has 3 servers now. One is local test server, then dev server, then prod server. Whatever server you will choose, let's say we are choosing my prod URL, and this is the tutorial controller. Here I'll expand this one and let's try it out. I put anything here and I execute. Although it will fail, but I just want to show you guys. See this request URL, it changes to this my prod URL. So that is the use of this server's thing, right? Fine. Okay, so we understood how to change the top section and the information and contact information and servers thing. Next we will understand how to modify the things in this API, like the name and the things, all we can modify it too. So we can go to our tutorial controller and see here we have only defined a get mapping. We can define a whole lot of things here. Okay, so yeah, let me do that for you. Okay guys, so I have added these annotations and values. I'll just walk you through. Okay, so this annotation added operation, it is defined like what kind of operation this particular API method gonna do. So here you can give a summary that what kind of operation gonna be happen. You can give a brief description here and a tag. Tag is basically the headline. So if we go to browser and see this tutorial-controller, so if that is what tag means. If you don't give a tag, so it will take the class name by default, but if you give a tag, it will take this one. Fine. And this summary is basically after the endpoint, it will have a little summary here, just like we saw in one of the here. See, it has a little summary, right? You can give description as well, long description, it will show you there as well, right? And then comes the API responses. So what kind of responses API will send in different scenarios. So it can take multiple API responses. So for response code 200, if it's a 200, then it will be successful response. And what will the content is in string type, right? Here you can define your DTO. Maybe you are returning list of users, so you can define array of users DTO.class, right? Or maybe object of user, then even user.class or DTO.class, whatever according to your need, right? So here I'm returning only string, that is why I've defined string.class. And if any error happened also, then also I'm returning a string. If we know about in our exception control advice, we're returning a string only, right? So here also, so if you are returning any explicit error object, maybe error info object, or maybe you have created your own DTO for errors, you can add it here and it will show in this Swagger. Fine. So for quite a error codes like 200, 400, 401, 404, 500, I have defined the values. It's very simple, easy to understand, and get mapping value is this exception. Okay, so we'll save it now and we'll see if it works. Fine, it is loading, and come here. So right now you see this, it says tutorial controller. Under this we have get mapping, right? The things are there, and this 200 is okay, and then example value is string, right? We'll just refresh our Swagger and we'll see, right? See, it's tutorial API. There's a tag value, and then the endpoint, and the small summary that it is check the exception. And if you open this one, say param1, it's all okay, and say in this code and this description. So these are the responses. What are all the responses this API can return? So it can return 200. So if it returning 200, it means it's a successful response. Where I written it? You written it here. If it is 200, then it is a successful response. So whatever you write in the description, it will show against this code, right? And what will be the response type? So it's gonna be like this, a string, right? If it is 400, it's a bad request. It's also gonna be string. If it is 401, it's an unauthorized string. 404, resource not found, gonna be string, and 500 is an internal server error, string. So this all descriptions we have defined here, right, for all the code. So whatever you define a description for a particular code, it will show here, right? So if you just go to this one for an example, this, so they have defined a description for all the parameters as well. You can define that or that also. See, in the request param we have only write request param, but you can define a if you just give a parenthesis here, you'll see it says name, required, and value, right? So multiple things it can take here. You can define that, and it will come here like this one. Perfect. Okay, so yeah, that's all, guys. I think we have learned how to integrate API documentation, or basically integrate Swagger in your application Spring Boot project, and how to configure your Swagger documentation according to your need. So yeah, that's all. Maybe 2 or 3 things left in this particular thing, where to add a security scheme or something like that. So when we'll understand the security in how to implement security in Spring Boot, then we can see that it's a very minute thing. Fine. So yeah, I'll keep this video till here only. So what is this? Energy saver turn on. Okay. So yeah, let's meet in the next one. Till then, keep coding and keep learning.